I am starting a new series on the channel called 10-Minute Takes. The basis of this series is after every Raw, Smackdown, and PLE, I will make a 10-minute video talking about a wrestling take, depending on what happens on the show for Raw, Smackdown, and every PLE. I'll also have an episode every single week on like a Wednesday or Thursday, talk about something in the past. That way we can, have a little bit of the current, the future, and the past going on in the series. Today, we're talking about why Sami Zayn should not win the Royal Rumble. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down below, leave a like, comment as well, and let's get into it. Timer starts now. So Sami Zayn, a lot of people believe he's going to win the Royal Rumble, it being in Saudi Arabia and all. It's kind of being one of his perennial hometowns, and I don't think that's a good idea. And the reason I don't think it's a good idea is because I don't know if Sami Zayn winning the world title is in the cards. I feel like there's other guys ahead of him at this point who should win the world title. I know a lot of fans are going to be like, yo, Sami Zayn should have been a world champion a long time ago. He could win the Rumble in his hometown. The story that you could tell with Sami Zayn. Now, everyone knows that Jey Uso on Monday Night Raw is, having a little bit of a heel turn right now. And he's starting to split from Jimmy Uso and possibly Roman Reigns, depending on how the story is going the next few weeks. Now, the Vision just split up, and that's definitely a big hindrance to this story. I think it's a little confusing on where do you go from here. But I think you could either, A, have Jey Uso, at Survivor Series, probably going to be in War Games, turn there, or at the Royal Rumble. And this is now where Sami Zayn comes in. I would have Sami Zayn enter the Royal Rumble in front of his, the audience going crazy for him. Everyone loves Sami Zayn, right? He gets in the match, he seems like he's going to be the favorite. It looks like he's going to win. They set him up to win. And then right before he wins, and, might be like 4 or 5 guys left, he's trying to eliminate someone the crowd doesn't like. Maybe it's Logan Paul, let's just say, because I feel like the crowd over there might boo him. They might cheer him, so he might have to pick someone else, maybe a Drew McIntyre. I have no idea. Anyway, Sami Zayn's trying to throw him out of the ring, and here comes Jey Uso to eliminate Sami Zayn and ruin his WrestleMania dream. Now, why do I think that Sami Zayn and Jey Uso should fight? The thing is with these two, they have such a long history, in the bloodline. Sami Zayn, when he first came in, obviously we all know, Jey Uso really didn't want him in the group. And that bond became the form after a little while, and they became really close. And then when Sami dipped on Roman, it really hurt Jey, and he was the most conflicted in the story. And now they're boys again. Now, the best part about this is they are not on the same show. So you don't have to worry about Sami Zayn and Jey Uso running into each other to, put the story in jeopardy. They won't have interacted at all. So all the Jey Uso stuff that he's doing, all the stuff that Sami's doing on SmackDown, it's completely, nonchalant to each other. So when they first interact at the Royal Rumble, it's going to be like, whoa, what's going to happen here? Especially if Jey Uso is turning heel, which in my opinion, I would have turned Jey heel. I think it's the right story to go. I think it's the right thing you can do. And honestly, when you turn Jey heel, it's going to be awkward because people are going to be like, yo, we're not going to be eating anymore. And the answer is no. I think the eating is fun, and if you turn him heel, it's not like you can't ever turn him back babyface and, bring him back to, doing the eat stuff again. But I think you stop the eat. What I would do is have his theme song, how it's like day one-ish. Slow it down, have him walk out like a heel, all mean and shit through the stage. None of that crowd, no eating, no nothing. He's just Jey Uso, main event, get my shit serious, and dip. And I think when you do that, it can be really instrumental to his career and his development of the Jey Uso main event run, because even though he won the world title, I still think there's a lot more that he can do outside of, just doing the 3-month reign. He defended it twice, and then there you go. He never wins it again because, honestly, let's just be honest. Jey Uso kind of got screwed over in that championship reign. They wanted to give it to Gunther because Goldberg was, retiring. And, hey, let's get Goldberg a really nice retirement match with Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Surely he has a chance to win. Surely the audience is going to believe that Goldberg can win. Surely there's no way that it's just obvious Gunther is going to destroy me in a horrible match, and there's no reason to lose the title. Anyway, Jey Uso lost the title. He didn't really get a true rematch. And then he just went back to the mid-card, not the mid-card, the low main event scene on Monday Night Raw, feuding with the Vision. He's been tag matching them. He got a world title match in a Fatal 4-Way at Clash in Paris with LA Punk and Seth. But even then, that didn't really do too much for Jey Uso. And I think when you turn him heel, it's like, you know what? We could really establish him. Some of his best work of his career was during that Bloodline, WrestleMania 39, Summer 2023, where he was putting in really good character work, where he was serious. Once he started bringing in the Yeet, it kind of took a little bit away from that. I know some fans are going to be like, Yeet's fun, he's over, he's popular. Sure. Jey Uso's still going to sell his Yeet shirts. He's still going to be popular. But the problem with Jey Uso as the babyface that he is right now is that it's going to fall flat, and eventually the fans aren't going to care as much for it. Sure, you might eat for him, and then during the match, it's going to be like, Boo! Boo! Jey Uso sucks. Boo! Because what happens when Braun Breaker becomes a babyface on Raw and people want to see him win? What happens when Seth Rollins eventually turns face, especially now with the Vision? I think it's a clear-cut chase for Seth Rollins to honestly go good guy. But it's going to be awkward because with him, nobody likes him. He likes nobody. So the crowd's going to cheer for him. He doesn't like Jey Uso either. He hates Roman Reigns. So Jey Uso's just put in the middle of a bunch of baby faces, CM Punk, and honestly, the crowd's not going to pick Jey Uso over those other guys. They're not going to pick him over Punk. They're not going to pick him over Roman. They could pick him over Seth, but that's even 50-50. Randy Orton, he's someone who needs to win a world title. They're not going to pick you over him. They're not going to pick you over Cody. So then what? You just get stuck in the middle of the crowd. And Gunther's someone who I feel like the crowd's going to start to enjoy in a couple years. You know, even could be a couple months. Now, he might retire John Cena, and that might not go over well with some fans. But Gunther's style and the way he wrestles is something that is, traditionalist kind of. It's classic. It's very old school. And I feel like a lot of fans are going to start to appreciate that in the upcoming years. And when Jey Uso, if he turns heel, I think it separates him and gives him a lot to work with because he doesn't have to have the stress of trying to get more overs than some of these other dudes. He just has to get heat. And I feel like, everyone knows getting heat in wrestling, I feel like it's a little easier than getting love because when you want to get heat, you can just talk shit. You can do whatever the hell you want. You can get cheap heat. You can really do some messed up stuff, and it's all typically going to work. Now, sometimes there's go away heat, but I think Jey Uso is far past that. He's an all-time great tag team wrestler with the Usos. He's a great part of the bloodline, so nobody's worried about that. Now, when you build Sami and Jey, I'm sorry for talking about Jey a lot in this video, but the reason I talk about Sami versus Jey, I think Sami Zayn is the one guy who could really help Jey try to snap him out of this character. I don't think it works. I truly think when you build this match, it's, Jay's doing, I gotta do it for me. He screws over Sami in that Elimination Chamber in Chicago. Sami could screw over Jey. Now, I don't think it needs to happen that way. I don't know if that's, what Sami's character would do. Maybe they're both in the chamber match to get the WWE or World Championship, depending on who's holding it by, February or March comes. And, if they're in the same match, you could have Sami eliminate Jey, which would honestly be insane. And even if, he's not in the match and, Jey does him dirty and Sami comes out and screws him, that would be interesting. It'd be a really fun personal story between these two guys who already have such rich history. And then when you're building the Mania, Sami Zayn, he wanted his whole shot, and then Jey Uso ruined it. So now Sami's goal is to get revenge against Jey Uso. And Jey Uso also wants the world title. So it's two dudes who want a world championship. I'm not saying this has to be a number one contender match now, but it's two dudes who want the world championship, and they're both in each other's paths. And someone has to go over and someone has to lose to get past it, to get back to the world championship. Now, when I'm booking this match, I would have Jey Uso win. I think Jey Uso beating Sami Zayn would honestly be really good for his development and his character. I think when you put this, on the top list of Jey Uso matches, Sami Zayn would be a great opponent for him. It'd be a strong victory that Jey can really have, especially if the fans really want to see Sami Zayn win because he's a over babyface against a heel Jey Uso, and then Jey does some slick shit. Maybe he hits a spear, maybe he gets his, he hits him with a cheap low blow, gets a weapon involved. Somehow, Jey Uso wins. And then when Jey Uso wins, after WrestleMania, you could throw him right into the world title feud. Now, this is going on a little bit of a tangent, but I think LA Knight will be a world champion at leaving WrestleMania. Whether it's him, whether it's CM Punk, whether it's AJ Styles, could be a couple of those guys. It could be Cody Rhodes for all I know, or Randy Orton. Jey Uso can feud with any of those guys, and a big, strong win at WrestleMania would propel him to a great world title feud. And honestly, in the past couple years, we've seen so many long-term championship reigns. I would be okay even if someone won at WrestleMania, or it was someone who had held the belt since like Rumble or Chamber. Maybe you do a feud with Jey. Jey loses the first match. He doesn't win. He doesn't go well. Main event Jey Uso is a failure. And then the next pay-per-view, Jey Uso wins the world title. Now, if it's LA Knight, I don't know if that's the way you go, because maybe you could run Jey and Roman again. Now, I'm not saying that's a great idea, but it's an idea. Jey versus Punk is another match you can probably run back if you really want to. Actually, run back. I don't even know if they ever ran at all. But we have a minute left, and I think that would be a fun feud. Jey Uso, Jimmy, that's something you want to run back, avenge yourself for that loss at WrestleMania, because even though Jey won and, you got to face your brother at WrestleMania, everyone knows that match wasn't as stellar as everyone kind of wished it was. But anyway, the basis of this video is Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, WrestleMania 42. Even though people think that Sami Zayn should be in the world title, some people might think Jey Uso should be in a tag match. I think when you put these two guys together, it would be some really fun storytelling. It'd be a really great match. It would give something for both of these guys to do that doesn't revolve on the world title. That way, other superstars can get their chance at the world title, because Sami Zayn will get another championship match at some point. Jey Uso will probably get another championship match at some point. So let's throw two guys who are main event caliber in that main event scene, throw them together, WrestleMania 42, and this is why I believe Sami Zayn should not win the Royal Rumble, and he should face Jey Uso at WrestleMania 42. And that, my friends, takes us to our 10 minutes. That takes us there, and I thank you all for watching this video. This is the first episode of 10 Minute Takes. It's a little rough. I apologize. I promise I will get better at these as this goes along. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you think about my video, my opinions throughout this video. Comment them down below. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next 10 Minute Takes on Monday. New videos coming soon, and have a good night. Let's go.